Good evening, ladies and gents. Let me just find a way to dampen the music here, and oh, that's more like it. Good evening, ladies and gents. Better late than never. We got a little bit distracted by football going on, which happens from time to time indeed. It's Edward and myself, of course, Hasse Rømer. We're here from Daytona for the penultimate round of the Sunday GT Masters. Edward, we're at the decisive stage of this season, I think we can safely say, and there's still a lot happening, and it's certainly not round 8. It's round 9. And there we are. Edward, are you with me, or have I somehow managed? No, you should be. Oh, and
I am here.
You are here indeed. How are we tonight?
I'm doing brilliantly, Hasse. Thank you very much. Daytona International Speedway, a brilliant circuit, especially in these GT3 cars. Plenty of slipstreaming, though. That'll be the order of the day, and that's one that always gives us such close racing. And while we have seen numerous times certain drivers running away with things, I would imagine the slipstream will keep things a little bit more closer than we've seen in previous rounds.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect so. It's certainly a track that has a tendency to lend itself to very close racing, so I think we're going to see, well, just about that here tonight as well. Looking into the practice time, certainly not the amount of spread that we've seen over the last few weeks. It is, however, still Charlie Nelson at the top of the standings, but only by 0.04 of a second. He's clear of Gaston Maceroni. Then it's about half a second down to Remco Barlow, the main challenger, you could say, though 42 points. If he doesn't gain considerable points on Charlie Nelson tonight, Charlie will be looking at crowning himself the champion. And if he wins this one, Edward, there's no way anyone can take anything from him anymore. And it won't even go to the final round at Spa. But Daytona it is, as we're looking at probably 2 or 1, if that's depending on just how you look at it. But coming onto the oval, that bend, that double left-hander, very, very tricky, especially as you come onto the banking there. And then it's one of the longest flat sections around. And of course, I think you mentioned it before, Edward, the toe is a massive thing here as well. And actually, pretty much like in oval racing, which we've covered a fair bit of ourselves as well, you sort of need to race with the brain. And of course, you always do, I guess, the racing skill does come from the brain, but you need to be smart, don't you?
Yeah, you can see as well, actually, the BMW does look like a very strong car around here. Gaston Maceroni and Remco Barlow currently second and third. Nicholas Kakato in the top 5 as well in his BMW. So that could be a potential spoiler in fact. I seem to remember having my best races here behind the wheel of the BMW around this circuit. It's one that I've got very fond memories of course, after the 2021 Daytona 24, the last special event I actually took part in. And maybe I should get back into it, because that was one that I had great success in, but I haven't really had the time or sort of, I don't know, urge to get back into it. But, you know, seeing these cars around here, and it is the time of the year when you get towards the end of the year and you look towards the start of the new year. Daytona 24 always rocks around about in January, February time. So it's also a little bit of good practice for these drivers. Maybe looking forward to the new year and next round of special events that are coming up.
Oh, yeah, definitely, and especially with the the already dearly named Sniffer coming up, a relative of the BMW M4 GT3 that we're looking at here. It's which is a sniffer in its own right with the nostrils, but there is big news actually in iRacing, and with the BMW LMDH coming. Which, well, it hasn't really been confirmed in any way, shape, or sense, but rumors out there suggest that it's going to be coming at because that's the only way it would really make sense, is for them to bring it in at a week 13, as they always do, so to say. And it has been suggested by staff at iRacing that it would be doing the Daytona 24. So my take is that we'll be having the brand new BMW LMDH car in the sim on Tuesday. And I'll eat my old hat. I'll eat my old hat if that isn't the case. But I'm certainly hoping for it. That would be a grand thing and a grand way to start out the new season of special events.
Yeah, but one thing I have seen about the LMDH is it's got the sort of LEDs around the big nostrils that draw attention to it. And one thing I really hope we can do in iRacing is change the colour of the LEDs. So I want to I want to have nice big pink sniffers.
Yeah. That would certainly be grand.
Here we go then. The cars making their way out onto the circuit to mark the beginning of this 15-minute qualifying session. All the drivers are out on track together, which does open up the possibility for a little bit of team play there with Slipstream, iRacing, with 4 drivers here tonight. Means that they're probably, well, at least one of their drivers could be favourite for that pole position, unless Charlie Nilsson can maybe find a little bit of help himself around here, and I think he might need it because the Audi is not really the fastest car in a straight line based on the balance of performance. Most likely come down to the Ferraris or even the BMWs. They aren't exactly slouches when it comes to straight line speed. If we had one here tonight, it would be the Mercedes. That thing is an absolute rocket ship in a straight line, both the acceleration and in terms of top speed. However, not here tonight. Porsche isn't actually too bad as well after the sort of most recent round of balance of performance changes. That car has seen a lot more popularity come through, but on a track like this, I would say that I think the BMW is probably the preferred car, just on the balance of how it handles, especially at high speed coming through the bus stop. You want one that's nice and planted, maybe a hint of understeer, which is exactly how the BMW likes to sit out on track. So we currently watch Martin de Jong make his way up to the bus stop. Chicane here. There's plenty of room between himself and the 2 Ferraris that just went up the road, plus down Chris Pio, I think, just up ahead of him.
And I think it's an excellent point there, Edward, because specifically through the bus stop and by gaining the best possible exit from it, you can gain so much time on that final bit of the oval coming down, across the start-finish line and into turn 1. And the BMW being so planted over curbs and over the bumpy stuff specifically, I think it's an area of the track where we could see the BMW with a specific advantage on the Audi, for instance, with I think the Audi being able to make up quite a bit of time on the infield, for instance, but historically it's just a little bit harder getting the overtakes done in there. But we'll have to see just how it all pans out.
Martin de Jong's really razzing the BMW there. You can just see a little bit of a twitch out of the first corner and all the way up now towards the infield section here, flat out through this left-hander. He is approaching these Ferraris rather quickly, I think quicker than he was hoping for, so he might need to actually make a few overtakes down on the straight. Might be able to dispatch of Chris Pio before the bus stop. However, I think Pete Plasner might be a little bit too far away. We'll see based on this exit what this lap time will be from Martin de Jong. If he isn't held up, this is going to be a really strong lap time because he's going to get a massive tow all the way around the banking and down this back straight, and then all the way out of the hairpin, or not the hairpin, rather the bus stop chicane.
It's a very fast hairpin, Edward.
Yeah, if it was a hairpin, it would be absolutely rapid.
But has Martin backed off a little bit here? I think it looks
he is backing off.
He is backing off, yeah. So maybe the run through the infield, not quite what he was looking for, and in that regard...
he's picked an off-track and a slowdown, so that's going to completely ruin his attempt at a second flying lap because he can't go full chat out of the chicane up towards the line. Would lose a lot of time, so I think that will probably be him peeling off and going into the pits. Yet you can just... So at least we can see on our timing software that he has now entered the pits, so we'll have to basically have a full another out lap and another shot at a flying lap, so that's going to be another 4 minutes before he puts a time on the board, most likely. Charlie Nilsson, can see him now. Didn't set a lap time previously, but now has the track all to himself to put down a lap time that is likely to be the one that they will all have to chase. Remco Barlow, Pete Plasnow, first to put efforts in. The BMW marginally quicker than the Ferrari. BMW's looking very quick here as Nicholas Cocato tops the timing sheets, just ahead of his teammate Remco. So it's currently a provisional Coanda Racing front row lockout, but of course, we get to see several quick drivers to set their lap times, like Sir Chris Pio, Matt Maddox, Martin de Jong, and then of course, Charlie Lund Nielsen.
A thing that's been interesting me, Edward, is that by the sound of it, at least when we've been speaking to Charlie, it sounded a bit like that he sort of just had one setup that he's run on every single track in the Audi. Maybe adjusting the gearing, maybe adjusting a bit of wing here and there. I don't know. Apart from here, I would expect as well here, you do need something different. You're going to be uncompetitive unless you can basically hit your absolute top speed. So...
a lot of cars actually as well have specific gearings for this track as well. They have a standard gear set and then one that's just titled Daytona. So it's obviously just for the longer flat out sections here. These GT3 cars are held pinned for longer periods of time than they would at any other circuit, barring probably Le Mans, which is why they have to have the different gearings. I think BMW is the only one that has one set gearings throughout the whole range, which is why it's almost paradoxically a little bit quicker around here compared to the others. But I know that the Lamborghini especially has two separate sort of gearing ratios that it likes to use.
Yeah, the Porsche and the Audi too as well, I think.
Yeah.
And so the LMP2, for instance, also has a short gear ratio, a long gear ratio, and a Le Mans gear ratio, which is even longer. We've spoken about it before during this season, but it's still interesting, I think, just what kind of an impact it's going to have the GT3s joining the hypercars and the LMP2s, of course, as well, at Le Mans. And in the WEC, yeah, it's got an off track through the bus stop.
Still topping the timing sheets though. Noah tries to know what's the best. He's 1 minute 42.79. Can get the comparison times on the left hand side. You can see he has pole position by just under 2 tenths of a second, 1.6 tenths if you want to be more precise.
But didn't Nicolas Cucato have a toe all the way around on his lap?
I don't think we saw his lap time, so I don't know if we can be sure or not in
we
that
did
regard.
See the Coanda cars together at least. Here's Remco Barlow. Pete Plastow with a very, very decent time there as well in the Ferrari. Third best at the moment with a 1:43.18.
I think a lot of what the drivers are doing are actually setting like their bank collapse at the moment while the sun is starting to set, and then when the track really cools down in the late stages of qualifying, they'll all get out together and all try and start slipstreaming. I think now is the time. Basically, we don't want to cause any hassle for anyone else. You just go out by yourself, set your times, and then we can worry about trying to have an order for slipstream, because sometimes it does go wrong, and if you do that all the way through the session, you can have drivers left without any lap times whatsoever.
That could be the case. We'll have to see. Here comes Gaston Maceroni with his first effective lap time. There are 1:42.847. And was that a fresh time for Cucato as well? And behind, but it was a bit slower, wasn't it? It wasn't up to the pace of Gaston Maceroni.
Maceroni did that lap time, which was a little bit quicker, only, well, 600ths of a second off of Charlie Nelson's time. And from what we saw, there didn't appear to be any slipstreaming. Charlie Nelson
they could have started. They could have started.
Lap.
I think he overtook him on the way down to get the best possible run. That's probably why we didn't see Cucato put in a better time, and Cucato's first time was quicker. I think they made the good old swap after the bus stop. I'm not quite sure about it, of course, but if you time it perfectly, that's at least how I think it's going to play out there.
On a lap, I've just seen him go through sector 1. Doesn't necessarily look like quickest time, but he's matching Gaston Maceroni. A little bit quicker through sector 2. So the Swede is certainly speedy at the moment. Just watching the sector times come through as you see Chris Pio only go 9th fastest, not able to improve on his previous time. So I think we will, as if we can, switch to the Audi. See what he can do. Just making his way around the banking now. The exit from that left-hand onto the banking. It sets you up so crucially for this run. Flat out towards the bus stop, which again is a make or break corner. Again matches Gaston Maceroni, so it's all about the bus stop and the run out of it. Look at the speed he carries through. He's a little bit wide of the mark, and I think that's going to be a slowdown penalty and validation of the lap time. Yes, it is, and that just shows how hard they are pushing to find those little tenths of a second. He's just pushed a little bit too hard and lost, well, what looked to be quite a nice lap time there.
It is so easy to do when you're really trying to push the limits at Daytona. And if you get into a rhythm where you sort of get those off track off, and you can actually find yourself in a bit of trouble on a track like this, because it's just one of those corners. It's so difficult, especially when looking for every tenth of a second here. 4 minutes left in qualifying. I think that'll translate to probably about 2 laps, maybe just a single. We'll have to see just what it translates to for the different drivers.
Just watching Gaston Maceroni, doesn't appear to be going particularly quick. Even though it says he's not on an outlap, I don't think he's actually properly attacking the track now. Here we go, he's just starting a fresh flyer. So watch him into turn 1. It's very nice. You can hear him short shifting on the exit of turn 1. That's just to keep the car nice and planted. You don't want any wheel spin because you've got the quick little, almost mini chicane, aiming for a late apex. You can hear him shifting down through the gears while turning in. That's to get a bit more rotation of the car because the BMW really does struggle with understeers. So any amount of extra bite you can get is really, really necessary. Now he turns in a little bit early there, but it doesn't seem to affect him too much so long as he can get a good exit, which he does. So now looking through sector 1, sector 2, no personal best here for Gaston Maceroni. Cutting the inside through this left-hander, if you get a nice tight line, it actually does seem to work out a little bit better than running wide. It seems it's easier to put the power down, which is what you need to do as early as you can because of this long run around the banking. Plenty of time to think about what you're going to do at the next set of corners, the bus stop chicane. Again, no personal best coming through for Gaston Maceroni. Even though the sun is setting, the track is cooling down and getting quicker. More rubber's been laid down as well. Drivers just aren't quite finding the time, but look at that. Beautifully balanced through the bus stop. That's why the BMW is such a dream to drive around the circuit, because you can just chuck it in there and you don't feel any sense of unease. You don't feel any sense of stress through the car, and any you might need to quickly save it at high speed. It just goes with what you ask it to do. It's absolutely wonderful. And then powering out nicely up towards the line. What's it going to be for the Argentine, who's currently second fastest? Gave a nice slipstream to his teammate as well. Nicholas Cucato leapfrogs Gaston Maceroni, but doesn't beat Charlie Lenilson, and their lap times are near enough identical there, Hasse.
Yeah. So they've managed to basically.
What's the exact lap time there, Hasse?
I cannot even. I cannot even see. Can I? Yeah. If we bring out the lap times, we can. Just a second. We can like this.
A thousandth
of a second between Cucato and Maceroni, second and third. And let me just remind you, they're not too far off of Charlie Lenilson as well. It's about 100th of a second and a half. So
Charlie might blow them out the water though. He's just gone purple through sector 1 here, Hasse.
He's flying now.
This could be a backhand of a lap time coming out from him. Breaks the timing beam. What will it be for Charlie Lenilson? No improvement, but he seems to have matched his last lap time to the 1000th.
There's 148. Oh, he just bit of a moment there for Charlie. He could have had a lap. He went off.
Last lap time there.
Yeah, his last lap 148.75. So no late improvements for Charlie Lenilson. Here, Maceroni swings off, and that means it's going to be Nicolas Cucato to try and get it to the line there in a good place. Remco.
Both of them on outlaps.
Remco Barlow, interestingly, well, they're on outlaps.
Yeah,
Interesting to see that on an outlap.
Across the line as soon as they possibly can. They've only got 15 seconds here, so I'm not sure if they're going to make it. Martin de Jong is also a doubt if he's going to be able to make it. 10 seconds, he should be just about safe. 5, 4, 3. Oh no, this is the wrong bit of the lap. My mistake. Completely off the mark, but as Kakato and Maseroni made it.
They just about made it on.
All the bankings look the same.
It does. It's often a weird monster to have to grapple upon. But they both made it on, and they're doing just about, yeah.
De Jong, though, he's off by himself. He could be able to get up onto the front row here. Maybe even pole. He's going underneath the apron to shave off as much time as he can. What will it be from Martin de Jong? Enough just for the second row. He had purple sectors in there, personal best as well. But it's just not enough. If he had a bit of slipstream.
But he's only 2/10 off of Charlie Lund Nielsen. The two front rows of cars at this current moment within 2/10 of a second. Now let's see if any of the Argentine boys here will be able to get the better of Charlie Lund Nielsen here in qualifying.
Gaston here is going to be quick, really fast, in behind his teammate. He needs to be careful not to get held up through the bus stop if he can help it. Might be asking his teammate just to go straight on, to be fair, and then maybe given a slipstream all the way over to the line. He knows that obviously his teammate's going to sacrifice his lap time here. None of them actually holding each other up. If anything, Gaston Maseroni has got a slightly worse run compared to his teammate. But now the slipstream is going to remedy that. Most likely call his teammate to go high and give him the run. There we go. Working together, the iRacing drivers, but what will it be for Gaston Maseroni? Is it enough for pole position in the dying moments of qualifying? He breaks the towing beam and goes pole by 2/10 of a second. A stunning lap time there from Gaston Maseroni. Teamwork made the dream work, and it's iRacing on pole position.
And oh, wow, what a lap and what an amount of time to shave off that late, Edward. Pretty impressive in the end. Let's just have a quick word here on the points, because we haven't managed to do so coming into this one. And I think, after all, it's rather interesting. Charlie Lund Nielsen is the man leading with a grand total of 42 points. So, as I said, if he does better than Remco Barlow tonight, he'll be the champion. Remco Barlow, 290 points. It's a 332, by the way, for Charlie Lund Nielsen. And then Patrick Gannon, Gaston Maseroni, and Nicholas Cocato. Alfredo Tricarici is quite close to being crowned the champ as well in AM. Things has to go badly wrong for him not to get crowned the winner at the end of things here. He's ahead of Ari Sherwood, Darren Fellows, Matt Maddox, and Chris Pio. And with that said, we're going to have a look at the grid here, Edward, and thinking you'll be the man to talk us straight through it.
Oh, first time I'm doing this season. Exciting stuff here. Gaston Maseroni, after an amazing bit of teamwork with his teammate, Nicholas Cocato, sees him on pole position ahead of championship leader Charlie Lund Nielsen. They make up the front row of the grid. Nicholas Cocato there in third. Will be maybe hoping for a little bit of slipstream off his teammate this time at the start of the race to get the better of Charlie, or the driver that's alongside him, Martin de Jong, who lines up in fourth place after a late improvement in qualifying. Pete Plastow under the radar, but he was kind of struggling there without teammates to help him. We can see what he can do now with a bit of tow in the race. He'll be starting from fifth ahead of Remco Barlow, who desperately needs a good result to keep the championship alive. Matthew Terry there in seventh place ahead of what is essentially the AM pole position, eighth place, Baron Glover. Excellent lap time there from the American driver ahead of Alfredo Tricarici in ninth. Stephen Orrell there in 10th, making up the fifth row of the grid with Chris Pio 11th and Matt Sisler in 12th. One more driver, though, you will see up onto the grid right at the very back, and it is the BDM Racing driver of Matt Maddox. Maybe not the best qualifying session from Matt, but of course, Daytona, it's a very slipstream heavy track. Qualifying doesn't really matter too much around here compared to something like a Zolder, where it is absolutely crucial. And here we go. Here, Hasse. Gaston Maceroni, pole position. We'll have to get up behind the pace car, and then when that peels in, he's the one to dictate the pace, and when we go racing.
Just hanging in behind the safety car. And the BMW
very close there, isn't he?
Yeah, it's very close to it. He needs to be careful not overtaking it. Of course, you could get yourself penalized for that. But the field nicely bunched up.
Is he going to maybe help his teammates out? Because obviously, if they're in a Discord call together, he can say, we've got basically count down when he's going to be going, which might make it spicy into turn 1 with Nicholas Kokato up the inside of Charlie Nilsson.
Yeah, here we go. The safety car swinging off, and it's Gaston Maceroni calling the shots from pole position into the penultimate round of the Sunday GT Masters, and we're a little bit of a false one there, and we're off. And
he's missed the green flag. Charlie Nilsson.
Wow, and look at Martin de Jong comes up to the inside here. He's just going to go for it. Oh, just a look, but no more. Remco Barlow there on the outside as well, challenging for second place. He's going to get his Dutchman compatriot through through Remco Barlow, 5th to 2nd in the space of turn 1, and he's going to take the lead from Nilsson as well.
That is an absolutely catastrophic start from Gaston Maceroni and Nicholas Kokato. But all of a sudden, Remco Barlow's going to fight it. They're side by side. Cold tyres. Are they going to touch up the inside? Remco Barlow. Oh, my word. There's a car going straight over. That's Gaston Maceroni. Everyone has to take evasive action to make sure they're not hit. Someone's been absolutely clarted at the back. That's the 707 of Chris Pio. Something's gone wrong over there.
Oh, and there's Charlie Nilsson.
And Charlie Nilsson. This is huge for the championship. Disaster for Charlie, but absolute elation for Remco Barlow, who leads this race while his rival is all the way down in last.
What on earth just happened there, Edward? I have no idea. We're gonna watch it back. We're gonna start from an end here with that green flag. We're gonna see if we can... Actually, we're going to go...
Sizzlers has gained 10 places.
That's absolutely insane here. On board with Remco Barlow. Let's see. There goes the flag. No.
Green,
there it goes.
There.
And they just missed it by a massive margin. And Remco Barlow immediately makes short work of Martin de Jong there on the inside. He's held up. It just goes into the gap there. But was there contact between these two as they exited? That's what I want to know. More stuff is happening.
So you can see that Charlie massively outbrakes himself. Charlie Nilsson is into the pit, so something has just gone completely wrong from them. Must have been contact. He must be nursing some sort of damage. They managed to get through there without contact. You can see Remco Barlow up the inside. Doesn't run him out of road. Is there Martin de Jong? It's Martin de Jong and Charlie Nilsson that have it coming together on the exit.
Oh, and he comes across the field in one of the Porsches there as well, having to take massive evasive action. Pete Plasto was off. I don't know what happened to Pete, but that was early. He probably had to go... Oh, he went straight into the back as the green flag drops. That's a terrible way to start your race. Gaston Maceroni had some issues. He went off as well. Bad start for him. He then loses it completely on the cold tires in the infield, across the track and into the tire wall. And considerable damage to his car as well. Charlie Nilsson is a long way back here, Edward. Baron Glover, the AM-class leaders, in 3rd place here as ahead of Martin de Jong. Then Stephen Orrell, Nicholas Kokato, and Alfredo Tricarici. It's been mayhem on the opening lap here at Daytona. What happened to Chris Pio here? We're just trying to catch up with the different incidents. You were attacked by a team. No, I was about to say a teammate. Wasn't
just comes
quite
across
the case.
The nose. There's a car on the inside.
It was Alfredo Tricarici.
Unfortunate there, isn't it, Hasse? But what an insane start to the race. This has got to be one of the most action-packed opening laps that I've ever had the pleasure to commentate over. you wouldn't believe there's only 13 cars out on track from the amount of drama and action we've already seen so far. I'll tell you what, though, Hasse, I would love to see the start of the race chopper cam above Matt Sissler, because he was probably perfect place, perfect time to benefit from all of that carnage. He's gained 10 positions so far this race.
Yeah, let's just set it up. Where is that damn chopper cam? There we go. Here we are, the green flag from the perspective of Matt Sissler. Could have a quick dinger there. He gets 2 already.
3 there on the
3
inside.
There on the inside, that's true.
You can see him behind the Porsche. Stephen Orrell dispatches him rather handily. BMW really nice on cold tyres, it seems, compared to the Porsches, which are all over the place. Again, a nice little darting move to the inside. That's on 930 of Baron Glover. And then up in front, this is where all hell breaks loose. He's in behind the number 2 of Nicholas Kakato. Just at this moment in time. So this is where Gaston Maceroni has his big moment there, where he completely breaks traction. He goes straight off into the tyre race. You see him there. And then that's just the huge commotion and confusion that sends the 3 ahead of him, all taking whatever evasive action they can. Oh, suddenly finds himself up into second place, but Martin de Jong has, I think, just been able to overtake him. I don't think Matt was going to fight that one particularly hard. You can see it there, the slipstream working nicely for Martin de Jong. He's got a good drive from all the way around the outside, just the overspeed. There isn't much you can really do except try and fight valiantly up the inside. We'll watch them as they go onto the brakes. No, it is Matt Sissler rather giving up the fight before it becomes too ugly. He needs to consolidate his position and maybe hope for a nice bit of slipstream to keep him up the order for as long as he can be.
Certainly a controversial way to get the race underway here, Edward. And a few drivers not finding it particularly funny, I think. Very chaotic opening lap. It's been a while since we've seen that sort of chaos coming through that early in a race. And even though 45 minutes could seem like a long time when you're at the wheel of a car driving, it also passes very, very quickly, in the sense that you have bad luck at that scale, even early in the race. Oh, Pete Blastow's not going to be catching. Oh, that is brilliant work to keep that car under control, because you could just see it get unstable under braking. And then it just wanted to go, and go it did. Just about keeping it under control, but losing quite a bit of time there to Alfredo Tricarici. Now here, though, Nicolas Cocato, who's carrying a bit of damage behind. I think that was from the start, getting held up. I was surprised to see that they didn't go earlier. I don't know if they're expecting it to be a sort of you can't overtake before the line situation, but that's not it in road racing when you have these rolling starts. It's basically usually go as soon as you can. What is that? That's Baron Glover and Stephen Orrell fighting it out. The two Porsches, and that's for the AM class lead here.
Oh, so that's a brilliant opportunistic move there by Nicolas Cocato. Yeah. See Stephen Orrell massively backing out and decides, right, let's go for it. Up the inside. Doesn't need any more invitation for now. They will fight side by side, and the corner onto the banking is so difficult to fight when you're around the outside. And that's exactly the reason why you just can't put the power down or whatsoever. The track, it's just not even there, and there's no grip at all. That's where all of the marbles and stuff are. So you're struggling to put the power down, whereas the car on the inside, while it is taking a shallower line, can power on much easier. So we watch Gaston Maceroni. Oh, it's going to hit the Amco as well. Damage there to the right front, as well as left front from the clipping of the tyre barrier. That is unfortunately his race over and done with. I believe he's already used this one fast repair. So that could be curtains for the Argentine, and I think it probably will be. Look
at the Porsche though here, stretching its leg. It's quicker than the BMW.
Nice bit of slipstream there from
that might be it. I think that might be it. But the BMW there, normally with the side draft, you would consider it to be He's back in the days. This just shows that with the updated BOP running now, the Porsche 911 certainly not. Oh,
that's brave. Even more so to go side by side through here because of how narrow it gets. Oh dearie dear. Nicholas Kokato
but he's gonna come back.
Through,
look at the switcheroo
leaving a little
there.
bit of room on the inside.
Brilliant.
It would be a
move.
great move if Stephen Orrell can get the drive through, but then around the outside.
But if he can stay sitting there, he's still there, and if he can,
I don't think he's got it.
Oh no, he's the Porsche just getting unstable for a second. To use an airman's term, it was a destabilized approach coming into that corner there, Edward. Just about managing. It was above his glide slope.
You can see as well that both of them are going to be struggling with the rear end though, because just the Porsche's naturally rear heavy with all the weight at the back. It's a bit of a tendency to wiggle about back there, but also Nicholas Kokato, look at the dents he's got right at the rear end. That's not doing the rear downforce for the car any favours whatsoever. So through this bus stop, he's going to be gritting his teeth and clenching every muscle he can be. It's what we call squeaky bum time. When you go into a corner like that, you have no idea what's going to happen at the end of it.
And you even...
Do you have that phrase?
There was that squeaky bum face, you know, like, oh!
This is squeaky bum time. Like, where everything gets clenched and you can always hear
That's why I'm laughing, because I'm very guilty of doing that. Particular thing when things are close to or going wrong, or might be close to going wrong, and then it's in the actual process of going wrong. Anyway, Martin de Jong with a fine lap time there.
Or bringing it over to football, that's currently going on at the moment. Holding a 1-0 lead, and you've suddenly seen, oh, there's 6 minutes of extra time. Oh dear. Everything starts to clench. Sorry, we'll try and keep the football to a minimum.
We'll try to keep it racing specific here, as best as we can, but no promises can be given. So Kokato's through now on Stephen Orrell. I wonder, Orrell, he's a seasoned gentleman, the Brit, and he could be the kind of guy who would just sit there and wait and know that he's got no real quarrel with Nicholas Kokato here, but he could just sit in behind the BMW and wait till the BMW squeezes through on Baron Glover up ahead. Maybe, just maybe, there'll be a bit of an opening for him to regain the M-Class lead as well.
Oh, the sound of those cars razzing by is brilliant, isn't it, Hasse? You can just... all the different sounds as well go on board with... oh, well, probably one of the best sounding cars on the iRacing service. Fun enough. The only car that I can say is better sounding than this is another Porsche, the RSR, but this is certainly no slouch, is it?
Certainly not, but look at the BMW here on the car of Baron Glover. This might be exactly the moment. Sorry, I had to mute for a big burp there, but this might just be the moment for Stephen Orrell. That is on the case of my burp there. Of course, the muted one, because I try to have the decency. Sometimes they slip, but anyway, it's the penalty of enjoying canned Coca-Cola. Does have a special way of coming back up. Anyways, enough about that. Back to the racing at hand. Baron Glover has now been passed by Nicholas Kokato, and Stephen Orrell did not get that opportunity he was looking for. He is, however, nice and close, and if he can get it lined up, of course now with the slipstream from Kokato up ahead, it might be just that little bit harder. Slipstream trains are something you follow, but it's often very, very hard to actually make a move in the middle of one, isn't it?
I've just watched Stephen Orrell, and he's been putting in an absolute shift here, and he wants this M-Class victory. You can see it just the way he was racing with the likes of Nicholas Kokato. He's not giving up. He really wants to go for Baron Glover. He's not going to be taking any prisoners tonight, and I absolutely love that from all these drivers here. But don't forget Baron Glover, he's yet to win the M-Class as well, so there's plenty at stake here. Alfredo Tricarici doesn't necessarily need to fight too hard for this, because you can see he's got, well, essentially the Amateur Championship completely wrapped up here tonight. His main rivals sadly not in attendance. Stephen Orr there just going high to allow Pete Plastow through. And maybe it's a bit of gamesmanship coming through. He said before the stream that it might require a bit of smarts as well as skill. I think Stephen Orr is going to do exactly that, letting a faster car through and then trying to use them as to way to overtake a car in the same class, but with a dive and move up the inside like that, there is really the 50-50 sort of chance. He's going to slow down the Porsche and make it that much closer. And if they continue to fight, is Baron Glover going to be vulnerable? Oh, a massive snap. If it wasn't for that, Stephen Orr would have been right on the back of him and in towards the hairpin.
Yeah, but indeed, it just goes to show that there certainly is a thing about it here, and it almost worked out for Stephen Orr there, and it was almost like Pete Plastow said, you know what, mate, I'm gonna return the favor that you handed me by leaving the space, by charging up on the inside and doing battle with the car ahead immediately. Didn't quite work out. Of course, the best thing is if it doesn't interfere too much. But here comes Stephen Orr, although he's got a good run, though not quite good enough. He's going to hold off here and see if he can gain the run on Baron Glover out of here. But Glover goes quickly. Was that too far over? I don't think you get a slowdown there unless you take a lot. What you will get, though, is a 1x. But Baron Glover not too worried about that. He gained a whole lot through the run of the bus stop there. That's going to make it hard for Stephen Orr to get back past. As we go back up here with Remco Barlow, I wasn't actually intending to go on board, but wanted to check in with the race leader for a second there. Pete Plastow in that Ferrari, but has got some very nice pace about him as well. He's swung right to the tail of Nicolas Coccazzo. He's charging to get on through. Next man up there is Matt Sisler, who is about to get this train for company, basically, right in behind him. The two guys up ahead are separated by about 5 seconds. 5 seconds ahead of here and another 5 seconds up to Remco Barlow. So things will be, well, I say that, I know it's never like it, but they will be feeling relatively comfortable, I think, out ahead. And maybe trying to play the long game here. We've seen it before from Martin de Jong, where all of a sudden his late charge becomes deadly indeed. And at 5.5 seconds, I don't know how hard Remco Barlow, though, is pushing those tires. Another one to keep an eye out for is Charlie Lund Nielsen. He's got about half a minute to close on Chris Pio, and he's doing brilliant lap times and everything. But he has to do an extra pit stop as well, and that is just going to make it so difficult for Charlie Lund Nielsen to really get anything out of this one. Oh, and there goes Orl. I'm afraid it's gone all wrong for Stephen Orl into the bus stop there. Gone and lost the rear end on entry and just clattered the tires hard as well.
Car looks somehow okay.
No, the car must be. That back end is that. I'm surprised it's not crapping more, but it certainly looks stricken. And that's going to be a trip straight to the pits for Stephen Orr. Here's Pete Plastow makes the move, and he goes deep into the corner as well. My word. And Baron Glover, not the man to make a move on Pete Plastow here. He's trying to hold off. He's trying to take it easy and not getting involved into anything here. Any of the crazy stuff. It's not going to help out Charlie Lund Nielsen either. The next 4 cars ahead of him, all AM machines. But basically, that puts him 5th in Pro as well. I don't know. It's not going to be a complete turnover, I think, if Remco Barlow wins it. But it is very much going to keep it open until 2 weeks at Spa. So from a neutral perspective, it's a way to keep it interesting. But certainly for Charlie Lund Nielsen, it has to be a moment of pure frustration, I guess, there, Edward, when something like that happened. And you have to put it somewhat on him as well. He did make a mistake coming into the international horseshoe and go very deep in there, and that's sort of allowed everyone else to bunch up on him there, like it happened.
Yeah, it did. It's unfortunate, but that's just sometimes the way things go. Sometimes, if you make one mistake, it can have a big knock-on impact. But Hasse, look at this. Look at all the cars that are in the top 4, all BMWs. What did we say at the start of the broadcast? It's the BMW that's going to be really strong around here, just because of how quick it is to straight line, but how consistent it is to drive. There's one car that looks to try and spoil the point, and it's the other one that we said is very nice in a straight line. The Ferrari of Pete Plastow, and now this is an excellent battle just to see the differences between the manufacturers, really, of how their cars make up the lap time.
Look at this here, Matt Sissler. Oh, who's got some serious company, and that was Nicolas Cucato just getting held up on the exit. That might open the door for Pete Plastow to just sneak on in through. It's a very hard place on the track to actually overtake. Pete's gonna actually go for it. Oh, and it's not really gonna work out. There's not a whole lot of grip there on the outside, and I think that's exactly what Pete Plastow found out. Meanwhile, Matt Sissler holds on, but you get a feeling here, Edward, that it's a question of when and not if Nicolas Cucato is gonna sneak on through here. I bet for third, though. If it goes on as it looks right now, it looks like Pete Plastow has a car that'll take him to the podium if he can just tame it, because it also seems a little bit wild. And we've seen him have a few moments already. Not quite like Matt Sissler's Porsche. We could have seen that one coming as well. Because it was biting him left, right, and center. Until one time it bit that little bit too hard. And that's that Matt Sissler just backing off? I think it actually is. I wonder if he has an issue of some sorts here. He's braking. I wonder what that was all about, Edward. Because we think he might have some kind of technical hardware fault or something that's causing him a bit of trouble. I'm not quite sure here. Did Plastow...
It might be down to potentially
in the
fuel
pits
as
here.
well.
Oh, that could be.
Coming to the pits, obviously they do run the fuel a little bit harder around this track than the others, just because you are basically...
Well, that's not going to aid your fuel
full
usage.
Throttle. No, it isn't, but he's gotten up and running. Looked like a relatively quick stop. I don't know if there's anything... Yeah, I would imagine that is probably just for a fuel stop. I reckon the pit window did open around about the 20-minute mark.
It would have
Probably do
opened
25 on a full tank of fuel. Maybe not 30 minutes that we're used to, just because of how much throttle, how much fuel you use around here compared to other tracks. So he seems to be all right in the window to be able to get to the end now. But I don't know why you'd pit so early and give up a slipstream.
No, but it's probably a case of actually feeling held up by the traffic there more than feeling like he was gaining from it, and that he might be able to undercut for the podium by pitting early. We'll have to see. We'll have to see there, as Maseroni is back in the car after a bunch of repairs. That was a hefty one for him. Here is Matt Maddox. Not at the best of nights either. And Charlie Nelson, who has been creeping up the order, but only because of the pit stops happening. He'll have to take another stop at some point as well. And make it difficult for him. Oh, and someone's had an actually... that's Pete Plastow! In the Ferrari, you could just hear it there, Edward, the crunch of something hitting the wall. And it's more or less a carbon copy. And he attacks the concrete barrier as well. That's not good. That's not good at all.
Luckily, it wasn't a side-on impact, so I don't think he's got any suspension damage on. We'll need to pit, but that is going to severely impact his downforce and also straight line speed. Going to be getting a lot of drag from that damage, and that could really be a heavy blow for his chances this race. It makes it likely that it will be a BMW 1, 2, 3, and 4.
It certainly looks like it at the moment, because there's really no one left to stop him. And it's more a question of just what's going to be the running order here.
Baron Glover, top of the AM class, hanging with Matt Sisler, as you can see through here. And this is going to be brilliant for his chances in the AM class, because where is Alfredo Tricarici here, Hasse? I can't even see him at the moment.
8.5 seconds or so down from this battle, and on his own in that regard, he'll be having a hard time breaking the air in the same way like the cars ahead do for Baron Glover. And of course, in terms of the fuel usage here, it's going to be a big advantage as well. That Baron Glover is just going to be within the slipstream, able to either go quicker or just choose to hold off a little bit here and there on the straights. Tricarici's done his pit stop now, or he's in for his pit stop rather, I should say, because certainly he's not even come to a stop yet. No way he can be done. We'll see if he does the same thing of keeping his throttle pinned. I wouldn't, because it's going to burn off quite a lot of fuel, and in the end you're going to have to hold for longer if you burn off fuel while being stationary.
Look at the sunset coming in the house. You can see that nice amber hue coming into the sky. Means that they're getting into what we call happy hour, isn't it? Where the track gets at its quickest. The visibility is still there for the drivers. They can really pump in some quick lap times.
Well, I think it is true that there is the happy hour, but I think at least at Le Mans, and usually when you talk about 24-hour races, that kind of hour is in the morning, just after sunrise, when you do have the light. But the track hasn't really started heating up yet. Of course, you do get a little bit of the same in evening time, but the tendency, I think, and we'll see just how the track temps are here, of course, 21 degrees, so it is relatively cool. But normally at Daytona, I think the track tends to pick up so much heat from the day, and it tends to sort of stick for a while. Pit stops left, right, and center at the moment as well. Here comes Nicolas Cocato. Oh, that was late. He might have gotten a little bit quickly in there, to be honest, Edward. And up ahead, let's see here. Martin de Jong, Remco Barlow. It's a lot of time. It's 5 seconds to have to shave off here. I don't think that's going to be a possibility in any sort of way. Martin de Jong here. Remco Barlow is moving. There goes Martin de Jong. Someone's hit something somewhere, and I don't know what it was. It might have been the pit wall on a pit stop or something. Not quite sure. But there was certainly the crunch of impact in behind at some point. We'll see just how that worked out. That's an interesting one here, of course. Or actually, I'm going to take that back, because Pete Plastow had that incident. He's probably not going to be in contention for third place anymore. Sadly. It was looking to be a good battle. But also really confirming what you said about the BMW, Edward, that one thing is the one-lap pace of cars like both the Ferrari, the Audi, and actually here the Porsche as well in the current BOP. But at a really quick setup, all of those cars are just at least looking like they're unstable in a way that the BMW just isn't. And over a race distance, anything is going to have a hard time keeping up with the big-nosed machine from Bavaria. You can say what you will about BMW. Certainly the BMWs of old, of the 70s, 80s, and of the 90s as well, does carry a very special magic about them, I think. Street cars and race cars alike. But I must admit, Edward, to me that BMW magic has somewhat faded. Or at least been turned into a joke. Here is Matt Sisler. I don't know if he's getting distracted by my me philosophizing over BMW and their nostrils, but that's gonna open him up to attack from Baron Glover, the M-Class leader in the Porsche. Is he gonna go for it? He certainly is. He's not gonna be held up by no one here.
No, I think
Up on the
actually
inside.
Van was going to get this position because of just how out of shape Matt Sissler was. And yeah, he's got the move done very nicely done by Baron. And now it isn't a BMW 1, 2, 3, 4. It's only a 1, 2, 3. And the Porsche is now inside the top 4.
He wouldn't be too far off of being able to aim for Nicolas Cucato's position here. Of course, now Cucato have had his fast repair, taking care of that damage at the rear end of the car. Of course, there is only one of those, so there will be, saving it for a potential next time around here. But I think the drivers will be expecting to be able to run these last 15 minutes of racing without any further incidents. Interestingly here, Remco Barlow, it's down to 3.2 seconds here. He's ahead by about 5.5 seconds at the time of the pit stops. And Martin de Jong might have just been trying to save his tires and play the long game here. Slowly but surely he's been gaining, maybe a little bit over the course of the pit stop. But with 15 minutes left, 3 seconds to close, if he's consistent about it, we might just see this battle for the lead heat up before the checkered flag here. When I say it like that, it is with, crossed fingers. You always want to see these late pieces of action, kicking things alight.
God, listen to them. You can hear the nice, deep, sort of guttural sound of the BMW and the high-pitched scream of the Porsche. Up to another Porsche here. Mattieri coming into the pits.
Charlie Lund-Nielsen has had his
one and only pit stop.
No, it's his second stop. He was in for damages earlier in the race.
One and only scheduled pit stop.
Yeah.
It's added an addendum to that.
So I'm just going to see if, because Charlie Lund-Nielsen's going to swoop on through here. But the next car up the road is going to be Pete Plastow, and he's from Charlie Lund-Nielsen, from what I can see, about 26 seconds up the road. And even though Pete Plastow is carrying a bit of damage, it's going to be... Of course, when I'm saying that is because Pete Plastow is the next pro car ahead of Charlie Lund-Nielsen. So currently he's 6th, isn't he, in pro? 5th, I say he's 6th in pro. Guess it's just gonna be taken as one of those races once in a while. See what Charlie Lund-Nielsen can pick up from a ill-timed incident earlier on, to put it mildly. Look at the lap times there, Edward. Martin de Jong gaining another 2.5 tenths there over the last lap. And, of course, that kind of pace, I think, would be just about enough to catch up. Of course, he doesn't have to go all the way in, because around that 1.2 second mark, he's really going to get into the territory of slipstreaming then, and the rest of the gap is going to disappear quickly then.
We need to make sure, though, the consistency is there, because that was Martin de Jong's best lap of the race thus far. So we'll see. Gained about, like you say, Hasse, a couple of tenths on that previous time. Looking at the consistency from the pair of them, I think Remco Barlow may just edge this out. We'll see, though, because Martin de Jong, he has been very quick. The one thing he has been prone to, and I'm sure you won't mind us saying this, is mistakes. We've seen it time and time again where he's really quick. I mean, Fuji was an excellent example of that. He was really fast, looking to be challenging Charlie Lund-Nielsen, then just those mistakes that start creeping in those final 20 minutes really put an end to his chances. So we'll have to hope that he's gotten over that phase of his racing and can really just go about putting the lap times in and closing up to Remco Barlow. We'll watch the lap times as they come across the line now. I think Martin de Jong will gain a little bit more on this lap, but again, the consistency for Remco Barlow, strong as it is, he knows what's at stake. He needs to outscore his rival, which he's doing, and the championship could be maybe injected with a bit more life than we thought coming into the final round here, Hasse.
Yeah, those last laps mirroring one another to the point, more or less. Oh, Matt Sisseler's had another crash here, I'm afraid. Or another crash, he hasn't had one yet. This is his first. Oh, the BMW just going and then kicking back. It's
well held.
Well held indeed. It's gonna cost him some time, but he kept it out the wall. And of course, in a sprint race, it's not, you know, same thing there. Well, Charlie Dunn-Nielsen just cruised past on Chris Pio. That's one thing to look for, though, that Charlie Dunn-Nielsen isn't all that far behind. Well, I say isn't all that far behind. He is quite a bit away. It's 21 seconds now from Charlie Dunn-Nielsen, so to think that he'll be closing that in 10 minutes, that's a tough ask, but there will be points if any major incidents play out up ahead, and that's pretty much worth remembering as well for Charlie Dunn-Nielsen there. But it's true, the consistency here from Remco Barlow, it's gonna be hard for Martin de Jong to really make any inroads without putting it all on the line. And this win, Edward, could just mean so much for Remco Barlow in terms of points here, and not getting it tonight would be a sort of disaster for him on some sort of scale. He needs every single point he can get on Charlie Dunn-Nielsen here tonight. If he can get away with a win, then that's what he wants. He doesn't want second, he doesn't want third. He's
nope.
Yeah, he's on it for the win, right?
He needs the win as well, like you say, to keep it alive into that final race of the season. Final round, the showdown at Spa seems to be set up brilliantly as it stands, with Remco Barlow coming away with looks to be a very nice race victory if he's able to hang on for just 9 minutes more. Pete Plasdow there with the overtake on Matt Sisseler. Or I think retention of the place against Matt Sisseler, because after Matt's incident he's dropped behind the driver of the Ferrari, the virtual racing compound driver. This is Matt's chance to basically try and fight back and claw back a few more points. Lovely little helmet as well, if you can see on the inside from Matt Sisseler. See that there as he goes up into perfect range for the slipstream in behind Pete Plasdow as they make their way onto the banking. Pete running slightly wide, which isn't going to necessarily help him too much in putting the power down onto this section of the track, the nice high bankings of Daytona. Nice strong slipstream as well. Even stronger actually here at Daytona because of the density of the air. We are basically at sea level. Look at the
damaged Ferrari there. It'll stand no chance. Coming out of the bus stop, Pete Plasdow is going to be a sitting duck for Matt Sisseler to cruise around. That's what I call, at least. If Sisseler doesn't go through here, he's being a bit silly. You see Pete Plasdow basically getting out of the way because he knows it as well. That big crunch on the left-hand side front of the Ferrari. Just looking at the gap there to Charlie Dunn-Nielsen, who will probably be hoping, or wishing at least, I should say, not hoping, but he would be hoping for it. It wouldn't be happening. So I guess it's down to wishing here. But for the race to just be that little bit longer, he might have been able to come back. Now, you should never say never, Edward. The more these two fight it out, the bigger the chances that Charlie Dunn-Nielsen is gonna have some kind of chance of coming back on him. He's 18.5 seconds down here now. It was 21 seconds just I think 2 laps ago. So on the other hand, there's also just about 6.5 minutes left to race here.
Purple lap from Matthew Terry.
Oh, whoa.
Absolutely razzing it in behind Alfredo Chickarici.
He just got the perfect toe maybe on that lap. A 143.28. That is quick indeed. That is
Maybe he's also put on a fresh pair of tyres. Fresh set of boots, maybe.
Yeah, that would definitely explain. Probably an explanation as well. There's a light car.
That doesn't take away, does it, from the pace that he's showing right now? Fastest car on track. Purple through sector 4, which is one straight coming up towards the bus stop.
But the thing is that if you do have fresher rubber than everybody else, the amount of time that you can gain through the bus stop is pretty wild.
Yeah.
And especially with a light dialed car at the end of the stint here. 5.5 minutes to go. The gap between the two leaders, by the way. We should pay maybe a little bit more attention to that fight because it's actually pretty interesting. But it is still 2.8 seconds in the favor of Remco Barlow. And while he's looking at trying to do something, it doesn't really look like him being able to. Here comes Pete Plastow yet again, and they're having a great little fight here. Racing because they think it's fun in the end, because Pete Plastow knows, as well as Matt Sissler, that once they get on the back straight as well, that Ferrari is going to have a hard time. Does do pretty well on the infield, despite the damage. Of course, slower corners, it's more down to the mechanical grip. And that, of course, shouldn't be hurt that much. Let's see it again. It's going to come flying up the BMW, isn't it? Through all of this, Charlie Lund-Nielsen is now closing in on 15 seconds. With 4.5 minutes left to race. He's not going to make it unless these two mess it up and have a coming together of some sorts.
Remco Barlow just did his personal best, extended his gap over Martin de Jong. Gap now back up to 3.2 seconds. Look at this though, Matt Sissler, plenty of speed. Looking to go all the way around the outside, and you can see Pete Plastow slots in behind. Realises there's no chance to keep up with this top end that BMW has at this moment in time. Got to say though, huge shout out always. I think, is that Matt Sissler getting a bit of a rear end helping from Pete Plastow? I say, Baron Glover has been absolutely brilliant so far tonight. Huge shout out to him. Excellent performance, topping the AM class and up inside top 4 places. Which is brilliant, especially in a Porsche, which can be feisty through the bus stop at the best of times. We've already seen Stephen Orrell fall victim. Kept going. Look at this. Pete Plastow fighting his way up the inside of Matt Sissler. He's got so much speed on the infield, but when he gets basically onto the straights, he's got absolutely nothing to fight with.
Yet again, Matt Sissler's just cruising around. They're holding up each other just that little bit. Back over 3 seconds now for Remco Barlow, and it might just be that Martin de Jong has called off the charge. 3.3 seconds. Barlow that little bit faster on the last lap. Still the quickest, or not the quickest two, but the closest two are these two indeed, and that was of course what I meant to say. Pete Plastow. And the brawl he's having with Matt Sissler, somewhat able to stay with him in the slipstream, so that might be what's on Pete's mind. Just see if he can time the move right, basically, and stay ahead. Coming out of the bus stop there, a new purple lap from Charlie Lund-Nielsen, 143.26. But that is in clean air. At least to the best of my knowledge. That's pretty impressive. That's a very, very, very fine lap from Charlie Lund-Nielsen. And of course, the fact that he can haul home a few points for the fastest lap as well here doesn't hurt him. That Audi looks very finely tuned coming around the corners. Looks like he can rotate it on the throttle, on the brakes as well.
White flag here as well, Hasse. Remco Barlow, Matt de Jong have just crossed the line. Still a minute to go in the race. This will be the final lap for the driver who needs this result really to keep his championship alive. He needed something to happen to Charlie Nielsen, and well, it seemed the racing gods answered and gave him the perfect chance to keep it alive into the final round, Hasse. Dramas abound in the Sunday GT Masters, and well, it wouldn't be this championship without one last twist in the tail.
And that last twist in the tail is gonna come at the end of the season in 2 weeks' time at Spa. Stephen Orrell coming into the pits here on the white flag lap. That's suboptimal. Bit of a shaky arrival through there. Look at Charlie Nielsen. He's closed the gap down to around 12 seconds to these two. But it's not going to be enough for the Swede to pick up another position. He's going to end up 5th in the pro standings. Of course, it would have to go pretty badly wrong here for these two, and they just seem like they've got it covered pretty much here. Pete Plastow with Matt Sissler. Matt Sissler giving a lot of space there to Pete Plastow, who gets to hold it around the outside. Nice move there from Pete. And a perfect bit of gentlemanly driving from Matt Sissler. I think as well, knowing that he does have the legs on Pete Plastow's stricken Ferrari coming through here. He's not going to stress too much about it. Coming up to the line, by the way, Remco Barlow has of course taken the checkered flag. He's won it. It's going to be a Dutch 1-2 for tonight as Martin de Jong takes second. And Nicolas Cucato for Coanda gets third place. A good Coanda tonight, except for the bad luck of Gaston Maceroni. Baron Glover's gonna win AM tonight. It's gonna be a fine display for the man from Florida, who takes his first win of the Sunday GT Masters in any class. Matt Sissler does finish ahead of Pete Plastow, and then Charlie Lund Nielsen with the fastest lap of the race as well. As mentioned before, he is going to be 6th in the pro standings, and I'll see if I can find out just how many points he's going to gain from that in the end. Chris Pio gets 2nd in AM, or does he? Because he's got Stephen Orrell on the tail, and they're going to come right to the line with it. But that pit stop for Stephen Orrell sort of gifted it to Chris Pio, 2nd place in AM class. Orrell 3rd in there, and then Matthew Terry. All of them followed by Alfredo Tricarici. And just to confirm what I've just been going through, there we are. The results of round 9 of the Sunday GT Masters here from Daytona. We'll get the music back in. Just to let that sink in for a second. It's going to be interesting just what it's going to do for the overall standings. And where would I find the points? And I know the point standings. I'm well aware of where to find those. I was just looking to find sort of the rules. There might be another way to do so. And 20 points though. So it's 22 points instead of 42 points for Charlie Lund Nielsen there out ahead. So certainly everything can still happen. Then with the fastest lap point at the end, that's gonna make it 21. Anyways, still going to be an interesting one in 2 weeks' time at Spa. Edward, do we have anyone sitting there waiting? Just someone who just cannot wait to talk to us. We have one.
We'll bring in
one
to have a chat with you here, Hasse. I
the
know just
one
the one
man. Bring him in.
But it's a driver that you like to have a chat with. Actually, no, we've got two. But the one who was here first, we'll bring in. Okay, we're with you, Hasse. It's Martin de Jong.
Bring him in. Indeed, Martin de Jong, welcome to the booth after a, let's say, mildly put, eventful race, especially the first lap. Full of drama in a way that I think we haven't seen basically all season. That all went down very quickly. How did you experience what happened there?
To be honest, I was kind of surprised that I had a BMW suddenly on the right through the grass, so that put me off a little bit. And after that, I was just rewatching what happened between me and Nilsson because I don't know if that was my mistake, but I think I've just played a very big role in the championship.
Well, indeed, Charlie's still leading by, I think, 20 or 21 points coming into the final round at Spa. But it does keep it open. It does keep it open coming into the final round. And but on your own perspective, apart from having maybe played a bigger part in the bigger picture here, your own race, second place here, certainly not too bad at all. There was a point where it looked like you were beginning to catch up on Remco Barlow up ahead late in the race, but it never really materialized. Were there just limits to how much you were able to get out of the car tonight?
Yeah, I think he was on the limit, and I was on the limit as well. So I think before the pit stop, I think I had the best chance to get a bit closer, but I was also trying to fuel save a bit to get a good pit stop, which in the end happened. When I saw Steven Orrell's pit stop, I had like, and again another second shorter than me. That must be incorrect. And so he had to do another splash and dash, if I'm not mistaken. And after the pit stop, I was on at 100%, and I think I had throughout the race 2, 3, maybe 4 moments coming out of the bus stop, and in the end I think played it a little bit more conservative to keep second place instead of winning it as usual.
Well, it is the little details that make the big picture in the end. Martin, congratulations on a good result in the end and a strong race. Last question from me here tonight. We go to Spa in 2 weeks, and I know it's a place that you like a lot. What are your expectations coming into the final race of the season there?
I think same as this round actually. You know, I'll be going there without any expectations and hope for the best, and will do my best, and we'll see where I end up. Hopefully, I mean, you always hope for a win, and that's what we'll go for. But I'm not expecting it, so it can only be a positive ending.
Well, Martin, thanks for taking the time to have a chat with us here tonight. It's been a pleasure as always. And before we let you go and enjoy your Sunday evening, is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks or a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out and thanks again to you guys and to the organization as well. And again, a big sorry to Nilsson. Unfortunate, just rewatched it. I think it was, in my opinion, a race incident with the hectic. But for the league, I hope we can finish strong in the champ. We can finish strong and have a close top 3.
Well, definitely. That was Martin de Jong, and we're gonna, just as we're watching it, definitely a chaotic moment there coming through on the stream as well. But thanks, Martin, for joining in, and hope to have the chance to chat to you as well soon.
All the best.
We're gonna bring in another Dutchman here for Edward to talk to. It's our race winner and pro. It's Remco Barlow.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, hello, Remco. You need, I think a miracle to keep the championship alive going into the last round, and it's fair to say you got one. Talk us through all the carnage that unfolded on the first lap and your view from it.
I think that some people had a bad start, and I could overtake Matten, I believe, right away, and also Maceroni. And then we went too wide in turn 1, and Jolly and I were battling. And then he spun, I believe. I'm not sure what happened there, but I got a lead.
Yeah, and then from then on, it looked a bit of a lonely race, but we did notice Martin John coming after you in the latter stages. Was there a part of you that was worried that he might join the party, or did you feel like you had it under control?
Martin did a very good job. He had almost the same pace as me, but I knew that if I would just continue doing my laps without mistakes, then I will make it, and that's what happened. So happy with that.
Of course, the championship is, well, I think still in the favour, you have to say, of Chandler Newsom, but it's a lot closer than it was previously. Do you have any hope that you might be able to come out of it all in 2 weeks' time as the victor of this season?
To be honest, I think my luck ended after tonight when this was a little bit too much of luck. But yeah, I'll just keep it open. Charlie is a very, very good driver, so I think he takes it, but everything can happen.
Yeah, especially at Spa. And is that a track that you've got any affinity towards? Is that one that you think you're going to be good at, or is it maybe one of your weaker tracks?
I do like Spa, so I rate it quite high in my inventory.
Well, it's the best way for you then to round out your season. We'll hope to see some excellent racing between you and Charlie all the way till the very end. But before we do say goodbye to you, of course, congratulations on your race victory. Is there anybody you'd like to go shout out on the broadcast?
Well, thank you. And yes, I would like to do a shout out to iRacing, also WPR Racing, and our Dutch sim racing podcast, Simcraft the podcast.
Excellent stuff there, Remco. Good to have a chat with you, and best of luck for 2 weeks.
Yeah, thank you, and hopefully we speak then.
Exactly, hopefully so. Take care.
Take care.
Well, indeed, I think Ed is going to conclude the interviews for tonight. There's no one else in the waiting room, so it's going to be a dynamic Dutch duo and a nice little triple word rhyme there. And on that remark, after a eventful night as well, the championship fight is going to go all the way to the line. There is going to be a lot to fight for, and it isn't going to require all that much for it to be turned upside down as we might have believed coming into this one. So every reason to tune in 2 weeks' time here on the Virtual Racing Compound with Edward May and myself as we go to Spa for the final round. Edward, is there any final closing thoughts on your part?
Nope, other than, well, I hope that we have the same amount of action at Spa that we have here tonight at Daytona.
Well, indeed. So from Edward May and myself, Hasse Rømer, thank you so much for joining us here on the Virtual Racing Compound. Thanks to Advanced Sim Racing for sponsoring us and help making this possible. And with that said, until next time, 2 weeks' time that is, well, we'll see you there at Spa. And until then, take care, have fun, and bye-bye.